Chapter 2, Section 7 is all about solving proportions. One-day lesson, so after this video you should be able to write and solve a proportion and then apply it to a real-world solution. Okay, a proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equal. If you remember, equation means it has an equal sign, and ratios look like fractions, so this is an example of a proportion. It shows me that 1/2 is equal to 2/4. If two ratios are equal and a quantity is unknown in one of those ratios, we can use this proportion to solve for that unknown, which is what we're going to be doing. Okay, so they're wondering how we could find the solution to 7/8 equals m over 16. If we use what we've been practicing in chapter 2, we should be able to put our train tracks and then do the inverse operation to move the 16 away from the m. Right now we have m divided by 16, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 16, which will give me m equals 16 times 7, which is 112, over 8 times 1, which is 8. Then I'm actually going to finish it and see what I get. And I find out that m is really equal to 14. Okay, so that tells me I could write the proportion 7 over 8 is equal to 14 over 16. And that would be a correct proportion. All right, how about what is the solution to x over 7 equals 4 over 5? We can do the same thing. We need to multiply by 7 to get it off the bottom. And multiply by 7 on this side, telling me x is equal to 28 over 5, which if divided out is actually 5.6. Okay, that's the way we have been doing it so far, but now they're going to show us this new property called cross products property of a proportion, telling us that the cross products of a proportion are also equal. So if I multiply the numbers that are across from each other, they have to be equal to the other set of numbers that are across from each other. So in this case, I'm going to take the blue set, the 6 times 4, and I'm going to say that that needs to be equal to the red numbers, which is 5 times b. And since 6 times 4 is 24, I now have a one-step problem. 24 equals 5b, and I can divide both sides by 5, which tells me that my b has to be equal to 4.8. All right, let's use our new cross products property to solve for x in this case. 8 times 3 has to be equal to 4 times x. 8 times 3 is 24. And then I just need to divide by 4 to get that x by itself, and I find out that x is equal to 6. And they should make sense, so that means I have 4/3 equals 8/6. And if I multiply this by 2 and this by 2, I get the second proportion. Okay, continuing to use our cross products, they get a little bit more in depth for this one, but I'm going to start with my 3 times 2, and that has to be equal to an x plus 1 times 1. Okay, now I have distributive property on the right-hand side. If I distribute, I'm just going to have x plus 1, and on this side 3 times 2 is 6, and I now just need to subtract 1. So my x is going to be equal to 5. Okay, same idea here. I have 5 times 7, and that has to be equal to this 4 plus b times 4. Now I have a multi-step equation, and I'm going to distribute, which will give me 4b plus 16 on the right and 35 on the left. I have 2 steps. I need to subtract 16. So I have 19 equals 4b. Then I need to divide by 4, which tells me that b is equal to 4.75. Okay, 4 times w has to be equal to w plus 3 times 2. Now I have a multi-step equation with variables on both sides. I'm going to distribute first. So I will have 2w plus 6 equals 4w. Okay, then I want to move my w's to be together and leave the constant 6 on the right side. So I'm going to subtract 2 w's, leaving me with just 6 on the right and 2 w's on the left. Dividing by 2 tells me that w is equal to 3. Okay, one more practice without word problems, getting more intense every time. So right now I have 4 times y squared plus 1 for my first cross product. My second cross product is y times 4y minus 3. Okay, I'm going to distribute with a different color so we can see what's going on. I will have 4y to the second power plus 4. And y times y gives me that second power, so I still have 4, but y to the second power minus 3 times y. Okay, the only like terms that I have are on opposite sides, so I need to try to move, pick the same color. I need to try to move these so that they can be together. I'm going to subtract 4y to the second power on both sides, which is actually going to cancel them out in both places, and I'm going to have 4 equals negative 3y left. Then my last step is to just divide by negative 3, and I find out that y is equal to a negative 4/3. All right, last 2 questions are word problems that we're going to have to set up as proportions ourselves. A portable media player has 2 gigabytes of storage and can hold about 500 songs. A similar but larger model has 80 gigabytes of storage. About how many songs can it hold? All right, so I want to keep my labels on the same level of my ratios when I'm writing a proportion. So we were talking about 2 things. We're talking about gigabytes and we're talking about songs. Okay, so in the first media player, I have 2 gigabytes, which is 500 songs. In the second media player, I have 80 gigabytes, but we don't know how many songs. Okay, so think of these as being a proportion, both equal to each other, and I'm going to use cross products to try to solve this. So I have 80 times 500, which has to be equal to 2 times x. 80 times 500 gives us 40,000. And to get the 2 and the x apart, I'm going to divide by 2. That tells me that an 80 gigabyte portable media player should hold 20,000 songs. Okay, approximately 3 people out of 30 are left-handed. About how many left-handed people would you expect in a group of 140 people? Okay, so our labels on this one are people with that are left-handed and total people. All right, so that first situation said that there was 30 total people and 3 of them were left-handed. The second situation said there's 140 people and they want to know how many would be left-handed. Okay, so our cross products give me 140 times 3, set equal to 30 times x. Okay, well, 140 times 3 gives me 420, and then I'm going to divide by 30 to find out that if I had 140 people and the ratio stayed equivalent, there should be about 14 left-handed people. Okay, it's very important that you keep your labels the same and you don't crisscross them, otherwise you're going to get the wrong answer. Okay, make sure that if you need help, you watch this video again or come find me. And your assignment for tonight is on page 127, number